Dhananjay Ramphal, Foreign Minister of Mauritius, who has been our amazing host, Dr. Ram Madhav, Chairperson of the Foundation, India Foundation. Thank you for inviting me to this event. Excellencies, distinguished delegates and friends, ladies and gentlemen, namaste and good morning. It is an honor to address the 9th Indian Ocean Conference here in Mauritius, a nation that reflects the diversity and dynamism of the Indian Ocean community. I bring with me the warm greetings and best wishes of newly formed government and people of Nepal. For Nepal, collective stewardship begins with a simple recognition. The fate of the mountains and the ocean are inseparably linked. Excellencies, as we gather here, we cannot ignore the conflicts unfolding in the Middle East. For Nepal, these are not distant events. Millions of Nepali citizens live and work in the region, and their safety remains our foremost priority. We've already lost one life in the Middle East, and others have been injured. The consequences extend far beyond the region, affecting fuel prices, supply chains, and livelihoods back home. These disruptions remind us that the stability of the Indian Ocean is inseparable from global peace. The theme of this year's conference, Collective Stewardship for Indian Ocean Governance, could not be more apt. Climate change, maritime security threats, disruption to global supply chains, and widening inequalities demand not just cooperation, but genuine collective stewardship. In the view of Government of Nepal, stewardship means moving beyond narrow self-interest towards a shared responsibility for our global commons. This requires inclusive, transparent, and rule-based multilateral frameworks. These must be anchored in international law and guided by the principles of sovereign equality, mutual respect, and peaceful coexistence. Our governance must be equitable, ecological, and above all, inclusive of those who rely on the ocean from the landlocked interiors. Nepal may be a landlocked nation, but our bonds with the Indian Oceans are ancient, organic, and inseparable. Long before the age of modern diplomacy, Nepali traders, pilgrims, and scholars moved along the routes and connected the high Himalayas to the source of Great Ocean. These routes were not just for trade. They were conduits of ideas. The philosophies and traditions that form our shared civilizational heritage moved along the currents. Most notably, these sources carried the teaching of Gautam Buddha, who was born in the sacred garden of Lumbini in Nepal. The Buddha's principle of Pratyutta Samutpada, the law of dependent origination, teaches us that nothing exists in isolation. This teaching reminds us that all phenomena arise in dependence upon other phenomena and causes and conditions. Today, we see this ancient wisdom reflected in modern science and geopolitics. The Indian Ocean and the Himalayas are not distant strangers. They are bound together by ecology, hydrology, and destiny. The Hindu Kush Himalayan region serves as the primary source of fresh water for billions of people. The glaciers and snowfields of Nepal fill the great river systems that ultimately discharge into Indian Ocean. Therefore, the health of the mountains and the health of ocean are inseparable. Climate change has laid bare this interdependence in most alarming ways. As Nepal's glaciers retreat at unprecedented rates, we face the imminent threat of glacial lake outbursts, floods that endanger entire communities. At the same time, the Indian Ocean is warming faster than any other ocean. driving sea level rise that threatens the very existence of low-lying island states and coastal communities. What melts in mountains eventually rises in seas. Nepal has been vocal about this nexus at the United Nations and COP summits. We have also established Sagarmatha Dialogue, our flagship global dialogue platform, especially to address the future of humanity through the lens of climate change and mountain-ocean link. We call upon this conference to formally recognize this ecological bridge as a critical dimension of Indian ocean governance. Our stewardship must encompass both the peaks and the waters, for they rise and fall together. As a signatory to the United Nations Convention to the Law of Sea, Nepal reaffirms its commitment to the foundational framework for the law of the sea. We emphasize that landlocked nations possess inherent rights to access the high seas and to participate in maritime economy. These are not privileges granted by geography, but rights enshrined in international law. The Indian Ocean is central to global trade and energy flows. Its stability is therefore a global responsibility. Nepal is deeply concerned by threats such as maritime terrorism, piracy, illicit trafficking of drugs and human beings. These challenges affect real lives, including those of Nepali citizens who travel across these waters in pursuit of livelihoods. We support the peaceful resolution of disputes through dialogue and international law. Nepal's foreign policy is grounded firmly in the UN Charter, the principle of Panchashil and non-alignment. We call for the rule-based international order where the rights of all nations, large and small, are respected. Excellencies, as I conclude, every time I hear of the ocean, I'm reminded of an ancient story from Hindu text called Samudra Manthana, the churning of the ocean. In the story, rivals Devas and Asuras decided to collaborate to churn the ocean for Amrit, the nectar of immortality. Yet, before the nectar could emerge, the churning released the halahala, a lethal poison that threatened to consume all of creation. It was Lord Shiva who, in act of ultimate stewardship and profound compassion, stepped forward to consume the poison to save the world. The poison was so powerful that even Shiva's neck burned to blue. To soothe his burning throat, he sought sanctuaries in Himalayas of Nepal. This story is a powerful metaphor for our times. Today's world requires karuna, the compassion and empathy from everyone, especially those who hold great powers, much like Shiva himself. This compassion must extend not only to human beings, but also to all living beings and non-living beings alike. The marine life in our depth and ecosystem of our peaks. Excellencies, we're bound not only by geography, but by our shared responsibility. Nepal stands ready as a partner in dialogue, a voice for the landlocked, and a bridge between mountain and the ocean. Let us move forward in the spirit of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. May all beings be happy. Thank you.